So Nisha, I believe you have in front of you a list of one-line jokes to fit with the theme of today's video. So would you like to read one for the audience at home?
My teacher accused me of plagiarism. His words, not mine.
Not bad. A wise man once said that all work and no play makes blank a dull boy. Well, apparently, Henny Youngman ignored the absolute shit out of that advice and worked pretty much every single day up until he died at the age of 91.
So Henny Youngman was a comedian.
Yeah, by trade, and specifically he specialised in one-liner jokes, and his shtick was that he would walk on stage holding a violin that he never played.
I've been traveling all week. I got in an airplane. I had 3 pieces of luggage. I said, I want this piece to go to Miami, I want this piece to go to Cleveland, and I want this piece of luggage to go to Toronto. He says, we can't do that. I said, you did it last week.
He became such a well-known aspect of his characterisation on stage that rumours began circulating that he couldn't actually play the instrument,
Right.
which wasn't true. He was actually a very accomplished violinist. It's just that he stuck to the ethos of always leave the audience wanting more. So he would only play the violin as the finale of bigger acts that he did. In that vein, Nisha, are there any comedians with gimmicks that you quite like or think are pretty funny?
I quite like Milton Jones because he's like more of like a one-liner. On panel shows especially because he won't say anything and he would just come out with like one line. Yeah,
he's like a non sequitur, just one-liner comedian, and I do like his shtick. He wears like Hawaiian shirts, isn't it? And he has his hair all styled up crazy, so he looks like a madman. I think he looks like the Wheatos professor is how I usually describe him. And my dad said he went to see him live. He says he didn't understand it until he got about halfway through the show, and then he'd never laughed so hard in his entire life.
Then the phone went off, picked it up, a voice said, "Can you speak?" I said, "How did you think this conversation was going to work?"
One of my favourite gimmick comedians is one who's unfortunately no longer with us, and that's Mitch Hedberg. Are you familiar with him at all?
No.
Well, he was a comedian with stage fright. Which you
Okay.
think, well, that is like the worst possible fear for a comedian to have. So what he would do to combat this is he would wear a giant pair of sunglasses, sweep all his hair over his eyes and put his head down and just talk into his microphone. Sometimes he'd just face the wall.
I saw this lady on TV, she was born without arms. But then they said, Lola does not know the meaning of the word can't. And that to me was actually kind of worse in a way. You know, not only does she not have arms, but she doesn't understand simple contractions.
And it sounds really weird, and that's because it was, but he was a really weird dude.
Yeah.
And like, it was one of those things where if you didn't get it, his shows would go horribly and he would bomb and no one would laugh. But if you gelled with him, like they were some of the best comedy you've ever seen. I think he's one of those comedians where like other comedians go, yeah, he was like a genius.
Yeah.
Like people can't comprehend how fucking good that guy was. Like I'm so mad that he's dead. It's like he would have been like he was like just on the cusp of becoming like, you know, the biggest thing in comedy. And then as if the universe itself wanted in on the joke, he went ahead and died on April Fool's Day. So nobody thought he was dead. Yeah, and that's like I think it's Red Foxx, the comedian, and one of his bits was he pretended to have a heart attack. And then he had a heart attack on stage, and the audience didn't know, and he died. And then to bring it back to gimmick comedians, that exact scenario also happened with Tommy Cooper. Like his shtick was that he was a magician, but his magic tricks would always go wrong. But he was also actually a really good magician, which you need to be to pretend that magic tricks are going wrong. And he again had a heart attack on stage, and people thought it was a joke. So like his dying moments were people laughing at him. He's like, please send help. And it's like, oh no, the life of a comedian is one of a like endless tragedy apparently.
So Henny Youngman was known for doing one-liners.
Yes, he was a one-liner comedian by trade, though he did sometimes occasionally tell longer jokes.
So I'm assuming his sets didn't last very long if they were really short jokes.
Yeah, that's the thing. His sets were usually just a few minutes in length, and he did play bigger shows. But the thing is, his shows weren't short because he didn't have enough material. It was in fact quite the opposite, because Henny could play multiple shows a day to the same audience and tell different jokes every single time. He had so many jokes and a seemingly eidetic memory for recalling them that there is a book out there titled 10,000 One-Liners, all credited to him.
I admire people who have memories like that because I had to obviously look up one-liner jokes on my phone for the start of this video. Like, I don't remember any.
Yeah, I think one-liner comedians are the ones I respect the most just because of just the sheer amount of like memorization that has to go in it. Not to mention like with the delivery, and then you have to like, you know, if they don't work, you can't obviously tell jokes in that vein. You have to like, you know, mix up your material a little bit, which is difficult. So you have to like work on the fly. And the only comedians I respect more than that are just like purely improvisational ones.
Yeah.
I think like Ross Noble, who I've not seen him live myself, but I know people who have, and they've said I've watched his shows one night after the next, and they're completely different. Because he'll go on stage with an hour's worth of material, but 2 hours of time to fill.
Jesus.
And he will go and he will riff on like what stuff that the audience happens, so every show is different.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, that's balls. That is fucking balls right there. To have so much confidence in your comedic timing and ability to improvise, you will go on stage with half the material you need.
So yeah, you mentioned he used to do multiple sets per day.
Yes.
So how many would he do per year?
It's noted that Mr. Youngman would do about 200 shows per year, every year, and did so pretty much up until, the day that he died. And that in itself is pretty impressive, but it's likely that he did many more shows than that because he was noted as being very, very proactive when it came to getting work. And because of that, it's noted that he would play any show for any amount of money if he happened to have the time. And because of this, it's likely that he performed at least once per day, every day, for almost 70 fucking years. Because there are stories about him putting on shows when he was having dinner with his wife on the way to the bathroom, because a fan would recognise him, to which he would go, well, if you want me to perform for you, I'll do so for $20 or something like that. And go, yeah, sure, we'll pay $20 to see this world famous comedian tell some jokes at a table, which he would then do, pocket with $20, go back to his table, where his wife would be sat there and he'd go, well, I've got $20, it's $20. And he would do that sometimes multiple times per day. Like, people come up to him and talk to him and goes, well, I'll put on a show for you if you want. How much have you got? And they go, well, I've got $30, I'll do a show for $30, 5 minutes. It's like, yeah, sure. And it's noted that he hated not working so much that he would sometimes artificially engineer situations so he could perform.
Well, do you have an example of this happening?
Well, of course we do. And one of the things that Mr. Youngman would do is he would gate crash weddings, birthdays, bar mitzvahs, that sort of thing, like going to hotels and just milling around until somebody recognised him.
Right.
And when they recognised him and went, hey, would you mind telling a few jokes to mark the occasion? They'd go, sure, for $100. And to which they'd usually go, yeah, sure, why not? Like, world famous comedian offering to put on a show for $100 on this special occasion. Like, yeah, that makes our event look so baller. We got Henny Youngman on stage, man, let's go. And according to people who knew him, if that didn't work, he would just walk up to the most important looking person at the event and just say, I'm Henny Youngman, I'll do 10 minutes for $100. To which the answer would usually be, sure.
Yeah.
Right, because how baller does it make you look that a world famous comedian is approaching you to perform at your event? And this story is the inverse of those you hear about. People who just randomly invite celebrities to their wedding or some shit and they just turn up unexpectedly.
Yeah, because the Queen do that to someone's wedding.
Yeah,
Like,
she did.
like she had a gap in her calendar and
Just
thought, yeah,
rocked
why
up.
not? Why not?
The story goes, I think it was the couple getting married and as a joke sent an invite to the Queen, which somehow came to her attention when like an aide or something mentioned it. And she went, yeah, I've got a gap in my schedule, I'll turn up. And the Queen just rocked up, like shook everyone's hand and went, yeah, have a nice day.
That's so cool.
And the one that I like though is, I think it was a couple in Poland who had their wedding on the same day that Iron Maiden were playing a show. And that got to the band somehow, and the band were like, yeah, fuck it, and played their wedding reception. And again, how fucking baller do you look when people rock up to your wedding? So, oh, who have you got playing the reception? You got a DJ, you got like a little local band. So, no, Iron fucking Maiden. Iron Maiden comes specifically to my wedding to play my reception.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Oh, it's so good.
All right, so he worked every day.
Pretty much, yes.
Surely he took a break. Everyone needs a break.
They usually do, yes. And according to people, more familiar with, Youngman's life story than we are, and have no reason to really make shit up, the only times he was known to have taken a break from his, his brutal, performing schedule and, from that thing he would do of, just approaching people, just doing sets whenever, was for a week after his wife unfortunately passed away. And then another time he stopped for, I think, 2 weeks, when he caught pneumonia when he was 91.
But you said he died when he was 91.
Yeah, the pneumonia killed him. So the only two things that could stop him performing were literal deaths.
Oh my God.
Including his own. What a fucking badass, man. 91 years old, still rocking. God love it.
So, Karl, you're one of those people that doesn't really take much time off.
No, I hate taking time off. I don't like not working. Which obviously it's a good thing that I like my job and it's fun, but with it being a creative job, where I have to write, I have to continue to be in that mindset.
Yeah.
The reason I hate it is because every time I ever took like a week off, getting back into the groove of writing and coming up with jokes and researching was just laborious and torturous, and it drove me fucking mad. So I found the one way to like counteract that is just always make sure I do at least one thing per day where I'm researching, writing, jotting down an idea, just keeping myself in the mindset of, okay, this is funny, this is an idea I can do something with, jot it down so I've got that creative outlet. Because if you don't, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's like applicable. If I was working, say, like, you know, a regular job like I used to, yeah, I'd be taking time off all the fucking time. When I worked in a bar, I took fucking time off when I wanted it, but...
Yeah, you need time off from working in a bar.
You do, yes. And that's why I'm very, very mindful of like the idea of burnout, which I'm very lucky to have not experienced that harshly.
Yeah, it's been going for about, well, this channel's been going for like nearly 3 years, hasn't it?
Almost, yeah, and I've been writing for 10.
Yeah,
and I only had one moment of burnout when I took like a month off when I went to Europe and it's like, you know, travel around there for a bit. But now I've been very lucky in that regard and I'm mindful of it. And the people who I do get random messages like, I'm really worried, Karl, your outputs. I say, no, I'm fine. People who work with the channel, they've been told, like, you've been told, if you ever see me, just like, Karl, just take a break. Do you know that thing of the stop posting?
Yeah.
The cat hand on the person's hand is about to like, no, just stop. Just take that break. And you're also in the creative industry now, so is your thought process similar? Or you're just like, no, fuck it, time off all the time?
I do take a lot of time off, but at the minute I'm trying to change my diet and get exercise because I'm just knackered all the time.
Yeah.
So me being knackered all the time makes me not want to work. It's like mentally, like I do want to work and keep up with doing creative stuff and teaching myself new things. But then on the other side of me, I'm like, just tired. I'm just so tired.
That's just a very, like, you know, millennial thing to be. It's just tired all the time.
Yeah.
And I do get that. I understand it, but I can't stand not working. I feel so angsty when I just sit there, like you want, like, me trying to relax looks so fucking stressful because I just sit there. Maybe just a little bit. Maybe I can just do a little bit of research. Maybe I can just like have a look. No, I'm relaxing today. Put the phone down. But that article did look a bit interesting. Maybe if I just read it for fun, I could turn that into a video. And it's like, I'm awful.